welcome to the Millennial Mrs. Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking with the Mrs. Kristi France Gibbs. And I am your host, Trinae Watson. As always, it is a pleasure to have you guys. I'm going to get comfortable. I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to get comfortable today. We getting comfortable, okay? I got my blanket and we getting comfortable. Come have a seat on my couch. We comfortable, okay? I am your host, Trinae Watson, and as we all know, I created Millennial Misses to be a platform of encouragement for other women to just see that you're not alone, and we are all out here just trying to navigate life, figuring it out, and through the highs and lows of life. And so, without further ado, I really want to introduce you guys to Kristi. Kristi and I have known each other for a very, very long time. At this point, we say we are sisters. Her father claims me, my mother claims her. Her mother claims me too. So at this point, blood couldn't make us thicker. But I believe she has a strong testimony. And I want to give her the platform to be able to share that with you all. So without further ado, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
A little bit about me. I professionally work in the public sector for the city of Baltimore. Been doing that for a little over 5 years. Little background, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, I have a master's degree in human service administration, and I am going to be graduating with my doctorate in organizational leadership.
It sounds like she's degreed.
Definitely degree. I also am sitting for a certified public manager certificate through the University of Baltimore as we speak. So yes, I have a lot of knowledge and leadership on that professional front. Personally, I'm married. Been married for going on 6 years this year. I have a bonus son, and we are travelers. I'll say that.
That is good. That's good. So, tell me a little bit about your journey transitioning into being a wife and a bonus mom, and what that looked like for you. I know that some of our viewers have that same testimony. They are dating or married to someone who has children outside of the relationship, and so they are juggling what that looks like. So tell us a little bit about your experience as a bonus mom.
So, while my husband and I, when we were dating, I was introduced to his son. I think his son was probably three or four. So I have known.
He was young.
Yeah, I've known him mostly all of his life.
Mm-hmm.
He calls me mom. His mom and I speak. There's no, issue there. Now that's not speaking on how it started. It was different when it started. But being a wife has been, it's had its moments of ups and downs, like I guess any relationship. But I truly married my best friend, someone that I can come home, talk to about anything and everything, and vice versa. So there is the foundation of friendship there. We have been friends, I would say.
That is funny. That is hilarious. So again, as her sister, I have seen it all. So I always think that it's
You were there from the beginning.
I was there from the beginning. I remember like getting like him texting and calling and seeing his name, and I was like, whose name is that? Because it was different, but it was his middle name. So I was like, whose name is that? Where's he from? And so I literally met him, I want to say AJ was a baby. AJ was in a stroller. And we met at the mall. And I was like, remember Timothy was with him? Yep. And so I was like, Okay, well, I guess he alright. I guess. I don't know. The jury is still out on him. But I can truly say that it has been a pleasure and an honor to be able to see you transition into from girlfriend to wife, and to see how he honors you, respects you, and loves you truly. And it's something to be said about somebody that loves you and can love you from a hurt place, and that can love you from a place of disappointment, and can kind of see past the facade that you want to put on. And it's like, okay, stop that. And like, give me what's this. Like, because I know that that's not that. Like, that's what you give them other folks. So that has been a joy to see. It's a joy to see. So
he's definitely one that I did not think I needed.
Yes,
I did not think I needed him from the beginning as someone in in a relationship. However, he's everything I needed. It's kind of crazy how
I'm just gonna pat myself on the back because I told y'all that I feel like I might be a relationship like setter upper, fixer. I'm not saying that I set them up, but I'm gonna say that I helped keep it together.
Yes, 100% you did. Because it was some rocky starts in our friendship, relationship transition.
Okay, so tell me how you met him.
At work. We both worked at Job Corps. He was in another department versus where I was, and he was showing interest as well as sharing the message from other coworkers that he was interested in me. But at the time, I was in a situationship, because I can't even call it a relationship. I was in a situationship.
We started heavy.
That really was exposed after meeting him. I'll say that. All of the situation was exposed.
Now, what advice would you have for a person that is dating someone in their workplace? Now, again, would you do it again? Like, because, like, I guess for me, I would have always thought, oh, no, you cannot date somebody in the workplace. But, like, if you could do it again.
I would still do it exactly the same way. And the reason why I say that is because I think it built a better bond for us. Because in the workplace, we literally were co-workers. We act like we didn't know nothing about one another.
I can attest to that.
We act like we weren't going to the same place when we left there. We really put on a show. Like, that could have been a reality show in itself, because no one would have known that we knew each other in an intimate level. No one. No one.
So you would just do that all over again?
I would. I mean, I would prefer not to have to be hidden, because that interfered with how we moved in our dating experiences. And it interfered with, I think, after our engagement. Once we got engaged, I wasn't able to be as public about my happiness and my engagement, because we worked in the same space. And at that time, we were actually in the same department. So it was even more challenging, where we were threatened by higher ups in the organization to say, basically, one of you has to go.
Wow. So here it is. You want to enjoy the love of your life. You want to enjoy this moment. When you get engaged, it's like the aha moment, you know? Mm-hmm. So you want to be able to experience that, and to a certain extent you really can't, because this is your livelihood. This is, you know, how you provide for your family and things like that. So, okay.
That was a challenge.
That was
navigating it. That was a challenge. But I was very upfront. Once they came and asked me, I told them straight up, yes. Now, if you want to let me go, fine. But I'm not going to hide. I wasn't going to hide it anymore.
Now, let me ask this, because, you know, we all come up from different walks of life. You know, I grew up, my parents were never married. you grew up, your parents were married. You got to experience
A little bit.
Okay, so how old were you when you're...
So my parents were married since they were 18, but by the time I came along, they were divorced by the time I turned 6.
Okay.
So I wasn't in the home with them together only 5.5 years. Like I only remember a few moments of them being in the same household together.
Okay. So growing up in a household where your parents divorced young, how do you, and then they both remarried. And so in a lot of ways you had a whole blended situationship. And there were other kids, stepkids, and so how do you think that experience helped shape your adulthood and you being a wife for your marriage now?
Oh, it was a challenge. Thank God for therapy. So growing up in a divorced home per se, with my mother living one place, my father living another. My father was very active in my life, regardless of me living or not living with him. My mother was very active. However, she had to work, so I was more than likely a latchkey kid. Like I come and go to work, go to school, come home, let myself in, fix myself food, get myself together for, homework or whatever. It was always a to-do list once I came in. My mother was in the school system, so she practically knew my movements or how long it would take me or who my friends were. So that was one, I guess, cycle of my world, being with my mom. But then being with my dad was a little different. My dad was a homicide detective at the time, so he could get called into work at any moment. So being with him, growing up, and then him remarrying, I was spending more time with his wife and her children at weekends, some holiday events where I didn't feel connected to them. I never considered her bonus mom. I never looked to her as a mother figure for me, because it just wasn't warm and inviting. Her children were never the big siblings that I thought that I needed or wanted. I had 2 brothers, so there was no attachment per se. If I was at my dad's house, I was there to see my dad. I really didn't care about what else was going on in the house.
Which I think was always weird to me because, we all went to the same church and I loved her dad. At the time, I had a close relationship with his wife's at the time's daughter, and they sat on one side of the church. And, for all intents and purposes, I love the whole family. Like, hey, I love y'all, And then I met her, and her and I created a relationship, and we were close. And then out of the blue, I find out who her father is. And I'm like, but y'all sit on 2 opposite sides of the church. Like, we in a church that's 5,000 seats. Like, I would have never, nights and day, I would have never known. I think that there is an importance in, when you're blending families, to try and create a space where children specifically can feel the love and the connection, even if there is
no connection.
Even if there is no connection. Even if you guys have nothing in common, just like your siblings, I'm sure some days you would wish you could choose a different sibling. Like, you can't. So the same thing for like bonus children and bonus siblings and just sort of kind of navigating that. I think that there is truly some importance in that.
Yeah, and I think that comes from the parents. So if the parents are in a stage or standpoint where they're willing and open to understanding that everything has to come together because there is a connecting piece of a child, then I think things can work out. I don't think it's hard to blend. It's just a matter of who's open to it, and that's it. Because if you're doing it in the interest of the child, in their growth and development, or whoever the children are connected in that relationship, it shouldn't be an issue. But growing up in a blended situation was, from my perspective, it was taboo, because it was never talked about divorced parents remarrying and what happens. Like, that never has been a conversation in the church. That has never been a conversation in media. There's never been a
people
conversation.
just go to new churches with their new families.
Then there's
and they
that.
show up with the family.
Then there's that.
I feel like they just go somewhere different. They create new friends.
Yep.
Like, think about even the people that, we were in church with. Think about, like, the dynamics of, like, people that have now gone on to get married, remarried. Like, one spouse leaves, the other may stay. Some of them have remarried now, and life continues. But it's sort of like long lost the last spouse.
You just like erase that chapter.
You erase that chapter
and
completely.
And I think that does a disservice to the kid. It does a disservice to the parents, and like everything that you build for normalcy for your family unit.
I agree. I also think that there is a way that you can honor what you had, right, while still respecting what you currently have. Like, just because you are now divorced or going through a divorce, like, we don't have to bash or talk down, and definitely go to social media and do all of that kind of thing. I think that there can be a space of, listen, it was good while it was good. And that's okay.
Yep.
And I support whatever you have going on right now, and that's okay. I think we just have to normalize that. So do you challenge yourself to ensure, or how do you challenge yourself to ensure that you are creating a space for you and your bonus son that is not similar to the space that you had with your father's wife at the time?
So what I've done, probably more recent, we've done family counseling. So him, I, and my husband have done family counseling to kind of talk about the nuances of the blended family, the fact that he's a teenager now, and he's going through hormonal changes and different changes within his peer groups and stuff like that. So that was one stance that I thought that was really important. I also try to always remember how I felt in certain situations. So not isolating him being the only one is a little easier, because he doesn't have to deal with or bonus siblings within our home, because he lives with us. It's just him. So it's a difference, because he doesn't have to feel like he's isolated from anybody else. He doesn't have to feel that someone's choosing someone else over him. Because those are real feelings that I believe I had as a young person growing up in a blended family. That it wasn't even called blended families then.
That is true. That is a new thing. The phenomenon of blended families, bringing everybody in for the holidays. Even though that has been
blending for years. Like, I would say in other communities of different nationalities, they've been blending. But in the African American community, we don't talk about the blending of families or the blending of community. It just doesn't, it's not talked about, and I think it needs to be in this day and age, because from my perspective as a young woman with no biological children, I think everybody has kids. So if you're in a relationship or going into a relationship with someone, one or the other probably has a child.
That's true. So that actually takes us into the next sector, motherhood, and you being, what your expectations were. Tell me about what your expectations were when it comes down to being a wife and being a mother.
Expectations.
You know, they say the old saying, like, you come up with a plan and God's gonna like laugh at it, right? It's like we all can come up with a plan.
Yeah.
So what was the plan?
My plan.
Tell me your plan.
So my plan was technically to conceive or try to conceive prior to my wedding date. We went to the doctors. That we got married in September. So like April, May, we were like literally family planning, like when we can just go ahead and conceive because it wouldn't interfere with the wedding date, my wedding dress. All of that was our plan. That plan hasn't come to fruition yet. However, that was the initial plan. Get pregnant by the wedding date, because at that time we were already, I want to say, 4 years into a relationship by the time our wedding came. So we were like, let's go to the next step. Like, this is what it's going to be. But then, like you said, God had other plans. So I've always been career driven. I've always been educationally driven as far as what I wanted to see as far as my professional life. And things that I wanted to obtain. I've always, since a little girl, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. A doctor of what? I didn't know that, but I knew as a little girl I wanted to have doctor in front of my name. And I've always excelled to make academic strides in order to do that. So while I was preparing to get married, I took a semester off from school. We went through other processes. So like, I think we didn't conceive in the first 6 months. So my doctor at the time basically said, just have sex every other day. So we tried to do that. That didn't come to fruition. And then we were going to see a specialist. So as we were going to see the specialist, she stated, well, let's just, do testing, make sure that everything is good on your part as well as his. Everything came back fine, normal. There was no issues. We were able to conceive through the process of IUI. That process, I don't want to go into detail, but that process, we were able to conceive. However, I had what's called a blighted ovum, which was basically a sac with nothing in it. So I had to, basically it was a miscarriage. So then I think a few months went by. I went into therapy because I went into a really deep, dark depression. After that, we tried again through fertility drugs, so something to make you ovulate more, to see if that was the issue. I did conceive again. However, it was a chemical pregnancy, which resulted in a miscarriage. So we have been on this fertility journey for the past 5.5 years. So now we have started with another doctor as of last June to start IVF. So we have went through the IVF process, shots and all. We have 3 fertilized embryo that are frozen, and pending transfer.
Okay. So how do you now, y'all know this is the transparency room now. We're on the couch. How do you navigate your desire for wanting to be a biological mom, to be able to birth your own child, and raise another child? Because at the end of the day, your bonus son does live with you guys 100% of the time, with the support of his mom, as he does visit, but primarily he is with you all. And your husband is at work, so a lot of times he is with you, and so
90% of the time,
right? As most mothers, that is the case. And no shots to any of the dads. It's just because I say that all the time. That's never a shot to Arlen, because guess what? He's working. So when you think about that,
Mm-hmm.
how does that weigh on you mentally, and how do you navigate that and get through that? Because let's not brush it under the rug as if that's an easy task to do.
That's true. So I will say, from the beginning of our journey, it has been peaks and valleys. We have tried natural, and then once we started working with fertility specialists, um, the hormonal changes is hard, because you are fighting trying to conceive on one hand, and then having to nurture another human being on the other, which is in direct conflict because he's not my biological child. So it's trying to make sure he has his needs met, even though they don't have anything to do with each other. But in my brain it does, because I am a mother figure to him, and he is here. So there's certain things that he needs and wants from his mother figure, that at times going through my own journey of trying to conceive has been really struggling, where crying in the shower, crying while he's in practice, because I'm trying to understand how can I be a mother on this earth to a bonus child, where I feel like I'm not good enough to be a biological mother to my own.
That right there brought chills to me, because that is a real place.
Yeah.
That is a real place.
That's real. In the flesh realm.
The flesh real, to feel like you are trying to do a role that you quite haven't, it's sort of like you're in an acting role,
Mm-hmm.
but you haven't been able to get the actual position.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, wait, while I'm doing this acting role, I really want the position. And so, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I have a lot of conversations and battles with God, on probably a daily basis, and it's been going. It used to be a little bit more intense than it is now. It's not as intense, but trying to figure out, why not me, or am I not worthy of that, or if you know that's the desire of my heart, why hasn't it been fulfilled? Just being angry. I angry. I don't know. It's no other words to describe the feeling at times, where you are upset, angry, frustrated, overwhelmed, depressed, anxious, all of those words wrapped up in one bubble. And sometimes you feel like you are going to bust.
And then I think, on top of feeling like you're going to bust, then you have people around you asking things like,
Don't
when y'all
ask
gonna have a
nobody
baby?
nothing.
When y'all gonna have a baby? And
Please
then
don't.
you have friends that are having children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I had Avon, I have several friends that have gone through this journey, right? One, Andy, she's come on the show. I have another friend, she dealt with it, and she just had a baby. And so at the same time that I had 3 friends going through this, I literally took the Mirena out and got pregnant right away. And I never, not to say that I took it for granted, but I think to a certain extent I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because I took my Mirena out right after your wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And I got pregnant right away. And so it was kind of like, well, hold up. I just thought that was the normal way of life, because it's not talked about as much. And when it is talked about, you hear about people having miscarriages or, things like that. But you're not hearing about, like, the process and, like, how, it's not the glitz and the glam.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, a lot of people, because it's easier said than done, could say, well, you have a bonus child, you have to be grateful for that. But in a lot of ways, it's sort of kind of in your face of what you don't have also.
Oh, every day. Every single day.
And that's not to take away from him.
No,
or
it's
to
not.
take away from how great he is and how amazing he is. But to have something in your face, and you want that so bad for yourself, and so on a daily basis you have to show up for somebody else while you're hurting inside personally.
Yep. That's that is it. How do you show up for yourself when you have it in your face? And there was times that I couldn't hear about a baby shower, see a baby shower, go to a baby shower, hear about a pregnancy announcement, gender reveal, all the inclusiveness of it all, because I wasn't strong enough. I just mentally couldn't take it. I think that I had to detach from the world, sometimes my friends, because it was too hurtful for me to see literally probably 5 people around me conceiving. And I'm just like, well, what water are they drinking? I'm not, because I don't understand. Especially to hear there's nothing physically wrong with you. So what is it that is not allowing me to give the desires of my heart? So showing up for a human being every day, that is your husband's biological child, it is very much so like a shot at your heart. So even taking fertility drugs and giving myself needles, it was kind of like, am I wrong for doing this? Am I questioning God because I'm doing it this way? Am I not grateful because I already have a bonus son? All of those, I guess, thoughts run through your mind, and it's hard to sit down and process what's actually going on. Some days you are in tears. Some days you're just in your head. Some days you are trying to keep busy to not think about it. So all of those things collectively are sitting in your face, and social media does not help
at all.
Social media don't help. I'll just say that, as that's been I think a downfall for society since its inception.
I think on social media, people will post like, "Oh, it's my rainbow baby," right? And it's the glitz and the glam, because they'll post the baby shower, and it's like, "Oh, my rainbow baby," but it's like there is power in the in between the rainbow baby, and there's just more people dealing with it than we know. You know, I've talked about before on the podcast when I had postpartum. Well, when I was in my lowest, it was this one. When I say in my lowest, like sitting in the house, the blinds was closed, it was dark, and I was like ready to be up out of here. After I had AJ, she was the one coming to my house, sitting with me, making sure I was okay, making sure that I ate, and like,
yeah, like,
did you eat? No, I ain't eat. Well, you gonna eat something. Yeah. So, do you want ice cream? You want to go get a cupcake? Whatever it's gonna take.
We used to get pizza.
Whatever it's going to take to get you some food down. And so I think, and it's even bringing tears to my eyes, because I think that there is so much power in your circle and who you have around you at the time when you're going through something, because sometimes you are going through something and you can't really talk about it. You're not in a place to be able to say, hey, I am broken inside right now. Yeah. But like, having somebody to say, well, I'm just going to keep getting on your nerves. Are you okay? I'm going to pop up on you. I'm going to come see about you. At the time, she was in Owens Mills and I was in like White Marsh Middle River area. So like the pop-up is real.
Pop-up is real and strong.
The pop-up is real. I mean, even down to I had stopped working and like she had gotten me a job. And it was like, oh, now I really can keep an eye on you. Like, I'm going to make sure you eat and, like, make sure that, because it was like, I would go weeks without eating. Like, I'm fine. I had some water. And then it would be like, I'm lying about eating. And then she would be like, you're lying because you've been in here and I know you didn't have anything. So being able to have people around you that you can be honest with, open with, and even when you can't, that they can be that with you.
Yeah.
And to be able to give you grace, because this thing called life ain't easy.
No, life be life. Life be lifing. I think that that's a strong like statement, because your circle, whether you can speak out what you're going through or not, they know something's not right. So I think the close connections that I have has allowed me to make it through to the other side of that depression. Not to say I don't still get upset and depressed. Definitely not saying that, because it is still, I have not conceived on the natural side of on the earth side.
Speak on it, like
but
right.
I have 3 babies frozen right now. I mean, I don't know how else to explain that. But the circle of who you share your testimony and story with, your pain and your brokenness with, they really can uplift you, pull you out, carry you on the other side, or just tell you that it's going to be okay. Whether or not you don't feel it in the moment, it's going to get better. And I can say my circle is small, and everybody in my circle has a testimony of their own, of what they've been through. But it definitely strengthens your bond and your relationship with your sisters, biologically or not, as well as with those close friends that can be there for you and know what you need, so nobody on the outside can infiltrate that. Because I've had a close friend literally tell other people, don't call her, don't ask her any questions, and they will be that barrier so I don't feel the stress or the interest or inquiry from other people, which I think is fruitful. Because in times where anytime you see a commercial, you bust out in tears, that's really like where I was at, especially after the first miscarriage. Yeah, I was in a dark place for a long time, and people do not talk enough about how many people deal with infertility. I know that you hear it from certain celebrities, but it's more common than people know.
Mm-hmm.
Infertility and challenges with family planning is more common. They say that it's a miracle to actually conceive. People think that because it's the norm that everybody's having babies and everybody you see is getting pregnant, is just normal. That is not normal. That is a misconception that really needs to be dismantled.
Yes.
Like
that's what we here for.
Yeah, it's so not
bring
true.
some reality to some normalcy to the fact that everybody's journey is different. It's not just the cookie cutter journey and what that journey looks like. So you talked about how you were in a dark place. Tell me a little bit about how you got out of that dark place.
Oh God. I don't know.
I say that all the time. I really do. I literally recall. Now again, I am not saying that somebody should not take medicine. I'm not saying that at all. But I recall like when I was in like a really, really, really dark place after I had AJ, dealing with the postpartum. And like, I remember when I went to the psych ward, they gave me that antidepressants. And I never felt like I wanted to kill myself. Never once. I just literally felt like I did not want to wake up. I always felt like I just want to go to sleep and I just want everything to like stop feeling. Yep. I just want to stop feeling. And when I started taking the medicine, it made me feel like, oh no, now I want to like run my car off the thing. And it scared me. It scared me to the point, like I remember driving on 695 and I got off and I went into the Target parking lot and I was like screaming to the top of my lungs, like, Jesus, show up for me. Like, I cannot do this. Like, I don't want to do anything to myself. I don't want to hurt anybody else, but Jesus, this can't be it. So like, I need you to show up for me in a way that I can't show up for myself. That I can't show up for myself. And I need you to show up for me because in that moment, I felt like if I called anybody and told anybody, they was gonna have me back in that psych ward. And I was like, I'm not trying to go back to this. I was like, I don't ever want to go back there. Yeah. So I felt in a lot of ways that I was by myself. And so
it's very much an isolated feeling. And I felt, and I still do feel for my husband because there's nothing he can do, can say to make that feeling go away. There's nothing he can do. He can comfort me, console me, kiss me, hug me, but there's nothing he can do to make that feeling go away. The only person is God. Is no other way to describe that because you feel like you are all alone in this world when you are going through that. Nobody knows the hurt. Nobody knows the pain. Even if they do, you don't believe that in that moment, that nobody else knows.
It ain't no way you know what I feel like right now.
No. There's no way in, no. That is the most, when they say you want to be one-on-one with God, that's when, because you feel like, even if it's somebody walking past you, you are in like a trance or like a tunnel because nothing else around you is even functioning in your life because all you are fixated on is the problem, and the only person that can solve it is Jesus Christ. That's it. And it's been so many times that I've screamed and cried, and I do a lot of it in the shower because I don't want to alarm my bonus son that something's wrong. We've talked to him about, what has transpired in an age-appropriate way, but I didn't want to alarm him. But my husband, he would know that there's nothing he could do. So he felt broken in a way because he's like, I'm here to provide and protect and, support her, and I can't in this moment. So what do I do? But I would say God is the only one that brought me out of that. I said going to therapy helped cope because it doesn't remove it. But it allowed me to cope and come out of the darkness that I was in to at least see some shadow of a light.
And I think sometimes we see that when people go through stuff and they just keep going and not deal with the hurt that comes along with it by saying, hey, I'm okay. I think that there is so much power in the I'm not okay. And like, just pause. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to regroup. I'm going to figure out how I can get myself together because I'm not in a place where I can give because I feel completely broken.
And there's been many a times with someone, hey, how are you doing? I'm not. So, I think it's a wake up moment for people to be honest. Stop with the I'm okay, I feel all right, or the sayings, how are you feeling today? I feel good. No, you don't.
Or better yet, finding yourself. I'm famous for that. How you finding yourself?
That's like an auto
It's like an auto
response.
response. I literally on autopilot.
Yes.
How are you? Finding yourself. That's a lie. It's a lie. Like, it's so much that I'm saying finding yourself because I just want to get over it because real life.
I don't want to talk
I don't want to talk to you. And it's not even like you. It's just like.
I don't want to talk.
I don't want to talk. And I like to talk. So the fact that I don't want to talk, let you know. I'm not. Let's normalize when people say fine. So tell me a little bit about like friendships and how they have shifted in the midst and even like expectations. Like I feel like before I dealt with my situation, I felt like I'm a good friend. Let me just put that out there. I feel like I am a good friend. And I feel like, for instance, that I showed up for people in ways that when I was going through, I felt like should have shown up for me. And I'm grateful for the people that did show up, right? Like, when I say I'm grateful, I'm thankful. I'll never forget in the psych ward, Sakia came to see me and was just like, girl,
get it up.
Girl,
Yeah.
like jack me up,
Yeah.
like girl.
We was in there deep.
Right. So I don't want to take away from the people that were there, right? But I do think that there is something to say about the disappointment from the ones that you would have expected to be there that weren't. I know for me, I had some disappointment because, I mean, I expected certain people to be there for me, if not for any other reason other than I thought. Let me change it. Let me change it. Let me change this statement too. Instead of me saying I showed up for you, I want to say I thought that I showed up in a meaningful way when certain people were going through, to the extent that I would have thought that they would have been there for me in a different way. So tell me, what has your experience been?
Same. I believe that there are people that were in my life for whatever reason or season that should have been there because they knew the extent of the desires of my heart. Now, granted, I probably don't talk to them now, but
I also think that that's okay. Like I think that I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, when you normalize, okay, our expectations and our expectations that we had on people, because I am quite sure, and I'm going to step out there on a ledge and be vulnerable and all the things. I am quite sure that if I was honest and told these people, because it's not just one, that if I was honest about how I felt in that moment, that there would be some type of empathy, whatever. I'm hopeful. Okay. I would think so.
Based upon history.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that sometimes when you come off as like the strong one, the person that has it all together, sometimes people can use that as an excuse to turn the other cheek and be like, they're okay.
Because you're the one that always show up for people.
Right, so I'm trying to understand.
They don't think that you are, well, I can't even say they, I don't know what they think. But the assumption is that people don't check on their strong friends. The ones that show up, they want to be shown up for as well. So I'll say that because I feel I show up. In mostly all of my close relationships, I show up. And I know that about myself because that's something I pride myself in. Like if I'm a friend to you, I'm going to show up for those big moments, those hard moments, those little moments. I'm going to show up for you. And to not receive it in return, it's kind of like the saying, you can't expect someone to do what you would do.
Yes, but I also want to highlight, and because you show up, when you don't show up, it's going to be is everything okay? Because again, this is a person who does show up. Like,
normalizing the show up.
Like, if you, And again, being there for a person, even though you want something, right? Like, you've been in there with my children, like at the hospital, and so having to see me deliver, even though that's something that she wants. So we're not going to take away from that. So, like, if there is a time or if there is something that I have and she's not there, oh, I'm calling. And not in a way that I'm not giving grace, because I'm giving grace. But because I know that she shows up. So I want that to be a takeaway. When you know that a person is a person to show up for you, if they don't, let's stop. Like, let's normalize that maybe it's not about you. Like, maybe that person could be going through something, and maybe you just, they can't
show up.
They can't. And maybe they're not in a place where they can tell you that they can't. Because that is true too. Sometimes people need a moment.
So true. I mean, I've experienced that within the last year, going through my journey, and then trying to do what's best for me in celebrating others. So if you are having a baby shower but I'm not attending, I would still send a gift, because it doesn't take away from your celebration just because I can't be present. But then at the same instance, feeling like that wasn't good enough. So it's like a catch-22.
Sometimes,
should I just not send something? Should I just not say anything and just like act like nothing happened? Or do I still engage in the way that is okay for me? Because what people don't understand is I got to take care of me and my heart first. I have to, because if I don't take care of me and my heart, I can't take care of my husband, I can't take care of my bonus son, and I can't take care of my children to come. And that's your first ministry before everybody else. That's it. That's my home. That's my safe place. And if I can't be whole enough for them, why would I care about what you got going on? That's true. That's true. We have to, I've been talking about this journey of self-care. And it was so funny because, like, even stuff is down to, we went to the football training camp. And I am the type of person where, for my children, I plan everything down to a T. Like, I'm like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. So much so, when we went to Disney World, my mother said to me, oh, I'm never going with you again, because you have a one-track mind, and when it comes down to your kids, nobody is getting in between that. Right. She said she wanted to stop for a snack, and I was dead set on, we got an hour and 15 minutes before the park closed, and my baby still want to get on 3 more rides. So we gonna get on these 3 more rides. And you gonna worry about your snack later.
But not in a way of like...
It's not malicious.
Not in a malicious way, but like in a one-track mind. But I sometimes do that to my own detriment. Because it's like, whoo, girl, like you... So we were going to the Ravens training camp, and I literally was like, I got a little bit behind schedule, and like I was flustered, and I was supposed to come pick her up, and then we were going to go down, and I was on the phone with her, and she was like, you want me to drive? And I was like, no, it's okay, I can drive. I've got it all taken care of. I can drive. I've got gas in the car. I did this, I did that. And then I was like, hold up. Yes, you can drive. You can absolutely drive. Because it's like normalizing, like, you don't have to do everything.
You don't have to do
You have to do everything.
You don't.
And so I don't really know what that quite looks like yet. Like, I'm still navigating it myself, because I am so hell-bent on, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this.
I think that is a part of how we were raised, though.
That's true.
We're very independent.
So let's talk
Even
about it.
Even when it comes to marriage.
Yes, that's perfect. So let's transition to that. That's perfect. So you were raised by a strong woman. Your mom, she was able to stand on her own outside of a man, outside of everything else. She instilled in you education. She instilled in you a good work ethic. So here it is now. You are married. And tell me how does that look? I get in trouble a lot for this area. And not on purpose, but I didn't grow up in a household where I didn't see two people married. So I didn't see like what it looks like to transition into be vulnerable and to be dependent on somebody else. Like I just did not see that. And in so many ways, even as a child, you know, my mom had me at 17. We grew up together, and because we grew up together, there were certain things that we learned together. Like I was very present when it came down to paying bills, and if we didn't have money, like I knew, you know, things were tough. Or I saw my mother going to college. I went to college with my mother. So there were certain things that I remember. Like I remember standing on the bus stop with my mother in the rain going to school. Like, this lady is crazy. Why are we going to school? Like, this makes no sense. And to see her now, it's like, okay, it all made sense. But as a wife, I think to a certain extent it kind of was a disservice. Not that they did it on purpose, but they taught us to be able to stand on our own. But I don't think we were necessarily taught how to
let some of it go when you find when you're married. I think so that's one of my areas with my husband, because I am a true daddy's girl, as well as being brought up to be very independent from him and her. So that is like double trouble for my husband, because he believes that it's a gift and a curse to be a daddy's girl as well as an independent woman. So before I got married, I owned my own house, had my own car. I was degreed twice by the time I was married. So me doing it all is not new to me.
Right.
Because I did it. Like, everything that I have wanted to accomplish up until marriage, I did technically.
You did it.
I did it. And I did
it by myself.
I
did it by myself.
I did it by myself.
So that is, and I think sometimes, like, I think men get, they feel a way about the I did it by myself. But then on the flip side, it's like you don't want somebody that's using you. So it's like,
it's a catch-22.
It's a catch-22. And me saying that I did it on my own is not a dig at you. It's not a dig at you. It's 100% like an accomplishment. Like when you bought your house, I went to settlement with you. Like I sat in the room while she signed her paperwork for her house. And so for me, you know, she's a little bit older than me. That was something that was amazing. Like, oh, my sister has a house. Like, my sister bought a whole house, like a whole one. And like, she did that thing, and like, she's doing that thing. You know, she's got a car, she's got this. And so, I think we have to do a better job. And I say we, because that's even like, I don't have girls, but I have boys. So like, I say the same thing for them. Like, we have to do a better job at teaching our children as they grow up that while you are raised this way, right? You're going to grow up and you're going to meet an amazing spouse, wife, husband, and y'all are going to create your own rules.
Yep.
And what looks and
normal
feels normal and what y'all want for your family.
Yep.
And that is 100% okay.
Yep.
Meaning, if you guys decide that she's going to be the breadwinner or you're going to be the breadwinner, or both y'all going to hustle. I come from the feeling of, why we gotta do either or? Like, why we can't just be and?
Yeah.
Like, why you can't be, you know, soaring and I'm soaring? And like, why can't we just make it work? Because again, in my mind, I don't know how to sit down. I don't know how to not do. Right. So like, I can do 10 things and I'm gonna keep doing 10 things, and like, I'm probably gonna be burned out, but I'm gonna do 10 things, and like, for all intents and purposes, I feel like you could do 10 things and we could do 10 things together, and it not be a dig.
Right. So it takes you all the way back, because one thing that I do know I've learned, and we learned it very early on pre-marriage, we went to premarital counseling, is the way that he was brought up and the way that I was brought up. The values that he was living with inside of his mind and the values that I had instilled in me. Once we laid them out side by side, we understood that we were totally different in how we thought this would work. Like, so me being very independent, headstrong, didn't allow him to feel needed, wanted, being the protector, being the provider, because I wasn't letting nothing go. Like, I carried everything. If I needed to carry a gun, or if I needed to, fight my battle, I would fight my battle with whoever, because that's the way that I was raised.
And that's not a dig.
It's not a dig at him.
Because guess what? Let's be clear. I wouldn't be with you if I didn't trust that you could do it if I couldn't.
That's the truth.
That's the part.
That's the
like,
truth.
I trust that at the end of the day, that if I fall, you got me.
Yep.
Because if I couldn't, I wouldn't be with you.
Right.
So, like...
Right.
But again, just like we have needs, they have needs.
Yes.
So normalizing, fulfilling our needs, and coming out of our stubbornness,
yep,
and trying to navigate their needs, and trying to navigate supporting the need for them to feel that they are that.
Yeah, so
especially being career driven. Like, being career driven, you're about to be a whole doctor, with all the accolades and everything in the world. So when it comes down to you having that and then still needing him.
Yeah, so what I've learned to do, I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Lord, I'm scared.
But no, what I've learned to do is allow him to pick up some of the slack. So what I do is say, if there's a task that needs to be done, hey, this is what needs to be done. Do you want to do it? Or you want me to take care of it? So it empowers him to feel like he still has a hand in it, but I know he's probably going to tell me to do it anyway.
So that's the part. Like, I'm going to be here. I think for me, when I went to law school, when I started law school is when it kind of transitioned, because we went from a 2-income household to his income, and I'm in school full time. So he sort of kind of took a front seat on a lot of things that I had sort of kind of had been taking care of primarily.
Yep.
So seeing that transition has been, like, I think different. Because, like, certain bills and stuff that I would take care of before, not that we didn't, because he paid the bills before, but I physically paid bills.
Yes.
Whereas he didn't even have to, like, see it. Like, yes, he made the money, but I physically paid the bills. And so now, like, with me in school, it's like he's taking a front row and, I just went and paid this. And I'm like, or like I try to go in and pay the mortgage and, like, you already paid it? Oh, okay. Let me not be so in control or trying to be in control,
yes.
Right?
So that happened with me. So when we moved, we built a house together. So when we moved 2 years ago, my husband has taken on everything, like everything. And that was something he wanted to do, because at our old house, which was my house because I bought it or whatever, but it was still our home. I knew everything, what to do. The mortgage was in my name and sending it, But now that we built our home, he's like, I don't want you to worry about any of that anymore. Like, that was basically your previous life before me, basically. I don't want you to have to worry about that. So going over bills and stuff like that, he is aware of them. Yes, I physically still manage that because that's one of my strengths, organization,
and that's okay. Like,
that's okay.
I'm a good spreadsheeter. Like,
I'm a good spreadsheeter.
I'm gonna pull out Excel, baby, and I'm gonna send you the update. Like, this is the sheet. This how much we owe. And this the payoff. This I'm gonna do that.
And he's now at the point where he doesn't want to see it. Just tell him the amount, and he will say, "All right, take it out of this account and pay the bills." Where I'm not used to that. I'm still getting used to that. Even 6 years married, this has only been the last 2 years where I have to really take my hands off of paying bills. Like, no, don't pay it out your account. Like, I'm like, I just want to pay it and get it done because.
Like, you sure?
You,
I got your bag.
But he's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's an adjustment. Being an independent woman, being married, and then navigating bills and trips.
Traveling is my love language.
Traveling is my love language.
Listen,
if I don't travel more than a minimum 3 to 4 times a year, I am cranky.
Yes. And so before I stopped working, like, again, he ain't even had to see how much the trip cost.
Right. They don't even know.
Like, like, a lot of times now it's like, oh my God, this costs how much? And it's like,
yeah.
No,
honey, like that.
Honey, you didn't even have to know that if you just sat down.
Yeah.
I got this. I got it. It's gonna be great. But it has been like a transition of like, I think that was one of my not even secret fears when I quit my job. Was like, oh my God, I ain't gonna be able to travel. And I mean, thank God that has not been my testimony. Right. That's not been my children's testimony. We've still been able to see the world. We've still been able to travel, all the things. But that is a real thing. Like, traveling is a love language. It's a love language.
Just wasn't in that book that y'all read, but it's a love language.
So it's really 6? It's 6 love languages.
It really is.
It's 6. I stand by that. I stand by traveling is a love language. Just like I'm going to say 7, because food is a love language.
That's true.
Food is a way to my heart. I like to eat.
It might fall under acts of service, but it's separate.
Acts of service? Well, could trips fall for acts of service? Like if you take
me?
Maybe. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to figure it out. Either way, I feel like it's in there. It's in there.
Yeah.
It's in there. So definitely figuring that out is funny. That is so true. Navigating that.
Yeah. Because my husband is like, how much that cost? And I'm like, don't even worry about it. Like, I'm trying to plan and you messing up the groove. Like, don't even worry about it. I got it.
I feel like right now, so I am planning my barcation. So when I finish my bar exam, we are going on a big trip. And I've sent out all the information to like all my friends. And of course, all my friends are married, except for my school friends. But all of my other friends are married. My college friends from undergrad, one college friend is married. Everybody else is single. But all of my married friends and loved ones, the husbands are like, girl, bye. Not saying girl, bye because they men, but like they sound like the male version of girl, bye. Like, say what now? And I'm like, well, we got whole like 3 years to pay. We got 2 years to pay. And they like, girl, bye.
My trip is booked.
Her trip is booked. But it is a real thing of like husbands like, listen here.
Yep.
These trips cost entirely too much money.
But they don't know because they've been getting the trips.
So they don't even know.
So they never even knew how much trips were.
You know how many months mortgage I could have paid for that? And I could have did this and I could have did that.
It's about the experiences right now.
It's about the experiences right now. And like,
that mortgage gonna be there.
He like, Arlen is quick to tell me, you experienced this house. It's great, isn't it? You're experiencing this house, these lights, and it's like, it's great because he's taking care of it. Shout out to him for taking care of all the things. Yeah. I ain't even gonna play, but we do.
Is a love language.
The trips are a love language. They're love language. So trying to balance, like, all right, we can't take 6 trips. All right, we're gonna take a couple. We're gonna take it down from 6, and then like the balance of like, well, I really wanted to go to Paris, and I'm settling for Jamaica.
That's a big settle.
That's a big settle. Like, I would love to be in Italy.
Hello.
But I'm sitting at a all-inclusive resort.
Right.
I mean, it's not a bad trade-off, but it's nonetheless a trade-off.
Right.
Like, what I want, like, so it's balance.
It is balance, and there's a lot of communication. I would say communication has been, I guess, good for him not so good for me because I don't want to talk about it sometimes. But communicating your needs, wants, desires, communicating what you think about whatever. So like I said, my husband is literally like my best friend. Like if we weren't in a relationship, we would still be friends per se. But I can tell him what my insecurities are. I can tell him why I'm vulnerable about whatever I disclose. So communicating, I think, is probably the best way to deal with some of those INDEV. Like, that you trying to be so independent and stay in your own where you really don't have to. Because if you just let them know, hey, I'm feeling this, or I want to do this, but I know that it may rub you the wrong way, or we really need to talk about how we feel so it can kind of ease the minds of both sides. I think that would be helpful for marriages, for relationships, for friendships, even though, platonic relationships. If we communicate more about how we feel without trying to put the other person down, but just sit inside yourself and say, I feel this way, or when I experience you doing this is my feeling. Like those kind of conversations, I think it'll be more fruitful. You can get more of your wants and desires met if you just communicate it.
I definitely think that is true. And that's awesome. Y'all, it's been a great pleasure to have you on today.
Yes.
Dr. France, I'm going to throw this out there right before we get off. I'm sorry, Dr. France Gibbs. I apologize for that. No shade. But also, when you know somebody, whether or not they just got married, whether or not they are in a doctoral program, whether or not they are in law school, please don't ask them about their grades. Don't ask them when they're finishing. Don't ask them when they're having a baby. Don't ask. Guess what? If you see a woman or a guy that's getting older, don't ask them when they're getting married. Okay?
Mind your business and drink your water.
Don't ask them when they buying a house. Don't ask them. Listen, let me tell you what you can ask them. How's your mental health? Can I send you a gift card? You want to go to the spa?
Is there anything I can do to support you?
Yes, because
I learned that from my therapist friend.
There is a lot that goes on behind closed doors that people are battling with so that they can do the social media, wow, I did it. But before we get there, it is a lot of work that comes with that. So let's just normalize.
Yeah, don't ask me about my dissertation.
Don't ask.
Period.
When she become a doctor, y'all gonna find out. Y'all gonna find out.
It'll be published.
Let me tell you something. Y'all gonna find out because I'm screaming to the mountaintop. So y'all gonna find. My sister is a doctor. When my sister bought her house, I said my sister bought a house. When my sister becomes a doctor, my sister is a doctor.
Yep.
Please believe it.
Yep.
Everybody's gonna hear it. So nobody has to ask her that. Nobody has to ask her when she has a baby. Everybody will know. Why? Because I'm going to let everybody know. I'm going to let everybody. I'm going to be right there. Nobody has to ask that. Nobody has to ask anything. Okay?
And my social media is mostly private, so if you
You're
don't
not gonna find out, but you might find out from me.
Anyway.
You might find out from me because I'm gonna scream it to the mountaintops. But it's been truly amazing. Y'all really will find out when she becomes a doctor because I know that there are so many great things that is going to come out of you when it comes down to just your own story. We're gonna come back and have you chat about the professional side of all that's going on and you living outside of all that your husband is doing and outside of all of those. But we have clearly went over time today, but we had a good chat. So I look forward to her coming back on and for us chatting some more. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in. And as always, like, share, subscribe, and send us feedback. I love it. Thank you for tuning in to the Millennial Mrs. Podcast. Really? This is the side of parenthood. Y'all see that? A whole mess.
See, that's why